Tech experts are sounding the alarm. Online identity fraud is reaching epidemic proportions, and Dave Hatter, our cybersecurity expert, has some quick tips to keep your identity safe. And good morning, Dave. Thanks for joining us. It seems as if we've been beating this drum for a while, but the bad guys online are just relentless in going after people's ID. What exactly is going on now?
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. And I just want to say I totally agree with your take on pumpkin spice and identity. They're equal for me too. I got a great laugh out of that. Here's the thing: the more information you put out there in any sort of digital form, I guess there's two main things you need to understand. It potentially lasts forever. It's hard to get rid of, and bad guys want that information because it makes it possible for them to impersonate you, whether that's trying to file for fraudulent credit, trying to get loans in your name of some sort, trying to drain your bank account, trying to steal your cryptocurrency, or impersonate you so they can pretend they're you at work and potentially break into your work systems or whatever. So the more information there is about you out there in the digital world, unfortunately, the more likely it is that bad guys will get a hold of that and use it to impersonate you and do bad things to you or other people in your name.
Yeah, what kind of digital walls should we be setting up to try to prevent people from taking our identities?
So, John, it's tricky because, of course, we are in an increasingly digital world. People bank online, they work online, they shop online. Everything is digital now, especially in light of the pandemic and the fact that it's been hard for people to get out. So, it's kind of tricky. But I think the first thing is to just think about what you're doing and understand that bad guys want your information. The more available it is to them, the easier it is for them to cause problems for you. So think about privacy and security. And one piece of advice I like to give people is stop, think, protect. Be a human firewall. Yeah, I know that's kind of nerdy, but it's easy to remember. Anytime you get anything unusual, anytime you're being asked to provide information that seems extraordinary, you haven't done it before, it's from a source that's asking you for information that's never asked for it before, stop, think about what they're asking, and err on the side of protecting your digital identity. The less information out there about you, the better. Don't just download the first free software you come across. When you're buying things online or doing anything online where there's sensitive information about you available, like your social security number, driver's license number, medical information, in your browser, make sure you see the lock in HTTPS that tells you that information is being encrypted in transit. Think about who you're giving your information to, right? Provide only the bare minimum. Don't go above and beyond with information, because even if the source you're working with is reputable, let's say Walmart or Target or something, they could have a data breach, right? Through hackers breaking into their systems, your information could be leaked. So the more you think about how to limit what's out there, the better off you're going to be in the long run, because bad guys are making gigantic amounts of money. And frankly, there's very little consequences. They're rarely prosecuted because they're outside the reach of U.S. law enforcement. So the more you limit that, the more you use protection like VPNs and encryption and so forth, and just stop, think, protect, the better you'll be.
Yeah, now let's assume the worst, that your identity is stolen. What should you do about that?
Well, and that's a tricky problem to solve. Now, there are identity theft protection services out there like LifeLock. None of these things are perfect. And, people will argue, are they worth the money? But I would say this, if you have the time and the discipline, you can certainly go out and do things like set up Google Alerts to see what kind of online activity is happening under your name. You can use tools like Unmask, which is a free service that does like a background check type operation. So you can see what information is out there, and that might tip you to some kind of identity theft or other fraudulent types of activity. Once it's started, it's really difficult to stop. Probably you need to freeze your credit. You probably need to call your insurance company. You need to call your bank. The sooner you detect any kind of fraudulent activity or even suspected fraudulent activity, the sooner you freeze your credit, the sooner you talk to your bank, your credit card company, any sort of financial thing, the sooner you can shut that down, and the less risk of having to spend potentially months or years trying to unwind that. And that is one of the benefits of like an identity theft service. They're monitoring for this stuff constantly versus you maybe doing it periodically. They can detect it more quickly, and in most cases, they have attorneys that will be available to you to work with you to help you undo the damage that's been done. So I'm not necessarily recommending it, but there is some value in just the attorney application for your membership fees, because it can be very tricky to unwind these things, especially if it's going on for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Dave Hatter, thank you for the advice. First bit of advice, just be stingy with giving out the information.
Yes. Think about privacy and security. And thanks, John.
All right. Take care, Dave.